Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. The Montreal Canadiens just defeated the Toronto Maple Leafs by a score of 3-1. Some big-time performances from some Montreal Canadiens players. Meanwhile, some Toronto players have already packed it in. They can't wait for the season to end. Two teams going in two opposite directions. Who would have thought that? The front page of the Hockey News back in 2018 said the Toronto Maple Leafs will win some Stanley Cups. The way they're going, I don't think so. I don't even know how many more hockey games they're going to win between now and the end of the year. The Montreal Canadiens win a big one as they prepare for another big one tomorrow night when they visit the Senators and Ottawa. Once again, we'll talk about those big-time performances, and the only thing concerning Canadiens fans right now is I hope Cole Caulfield is okay. He, who missed several shifts, but came back in the third period on a power play. What's wrong with Cole Caulfield? We'll talk about it. Once again, Jake Evans, Mike Matheson, what a play at the end. Jakub Dobes gets the win again. We'll talk about it all. This should be a fun show. Well, maybe not for Sid Seixeiro, who will join me from the Sid Seixeiro show live from Toronto. He'll be on the show. I don't know if he's going to want to stick around. Pierre McGuire, my co-host, joins me as he does every Habs post-game show. And Brian Wilde for Global TV Montreal. We'll check in all this on the Sick Podcast. Habs win 3-1. We break it all down. Coming up in 3 short minutes, I'm Marinaro.
It's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O's, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick Podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, 'cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the fall!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TB. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast. The Canadiens beat the Toronto Maple Leafs by a score of 3-1. I'm going to break it all down with Pierre McGuire, Sid Seixeiro. Brian Wilde will check in live from the Bell Center. Pierre McGuire is brought to you by Restaurant Vago, open 23 years. Longevity, not many restaurants open that long. Private dining rooms for any occasions, birthdays, engagements, corporate meetings, plenty of free parking. After 6, open Monday to Saturday evenings and lunch, Tuesday to Friday. Fresh, quality ingredients, old world Italian classics, and new Italian. Come see Tommaso, the most popular man in Westmount, at the front of the house, and his partner, Angelo, at the back of the house. Let's bring in Pierre McGuire.
The McGuire Report. Presented by Vago Italian.
Pierre, welcome. I have to tell you, I watched the game, and the entire time I was saying, the Leafs are only down a goal. Pierre, how did they stick around for so long, considering that half of their players didn't show up?
Joe Woll was pretty good in goal. Canadians missed the net a lot. Canadians overpassed the puck. Way too much passing. Get pucks on goal. Lane Hutson in the third period, he's about 15 feet from the net. He defers over to Slafkovsky, who's standing in the corner. You talk about the Leafs not showing up. I would agree with you, especially in the first period. We saw this movie last week when they were in South Florida, actually more like 10 days ago, and they were terrible in the first period. I think they were outshot 20-3, and they were down 3-0. No Bobby McMahon, he's in Seattle. No Scott Laughlin, he's in LA, and no Nicky Roy, he's in Colorado. This team is a shell of itself. There was no second or third effort from their better players. I know that Nylander scored a goal, but outside of that, this was Toronto is in big trouble, Tony.
Pierre, they're in big trouble. Pierre, I have to tell you, Pierre, I know that Jake Evans played quite a game tonight. I thought he was awesome versus Auston Matthews in particular. But Auston Matthews didn't have a pulse tonight, Pierre. I mean, am I seeing this or what?
They're in big trouble. That team's in big trouble. I watched I get if you're a fan of the NHL, you're a fan of the NHL. You're not watching the American League. I watch a lot of American League because it's part of my business, and I need to know who the players are coming up. Toronto's farm team on paper's adequate, but they don't have a lot of star prospects there. In fact, I would say they have no star prospects there. Easton Cowan, who you saw tonight, number 53, he's probably right now their best pure prospect.
Wow. William Nylander, by the way, -2 tonight. John Tavares, -3. It was a difficult night for Tavares, who was good in the faceoff circle, winning 8 of 13 at 62%. And it was a good night for Auston Matthews in the faceoff circle, winning 13 of 20. But Matthews, no goals, no assists, no points, and almost 23 minutes of play, 2 shots on goal. I don't know. One of the guys that impressed me tonight for Toronto was Benoit Olivier Groulx. If Benoit Olivier Groulx is going to go out and 6 hits in his 14 minutes and we be one of their better players, they're in serious trouble. You're right. They're in serious trouble.
He's always tried his butt off. He's always been a trier. He showed really good instincts, offensive instincts, with a nice move in the game in the third period as well. Couldn't finish the playoff, but he's a hard worker. He's an industrious kid, comes from a good hockey family. That all being said, you just nailed it. This is they can say retool all they want. This is rebuild. This is serious rebuild.
Sid Seixeiro will join us in a minute when I get word from Shane Gaumont that he's actually there. And at that point, we're going to go to him. But what I will tell you is this. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, a leading asset-light 3PL that's driven to be different. From cross-border freight between Canada, USA, and Mexico to coast-to-coast shipping in both Canada and the United States, Energy moves it all. They're fast, reliable, and powered by tech that delivers smarter logistics. If you need a real partner in transportation, contact the team at SICK@shipenergy.com and see how Energy Transportation Group is changing the freight game. Also brought to you in part by Playground. The World Series of Poker circuit returns to Playground from March 23rd to April 7 with a $2.5 million guaranteed main event. In 2025, the WSOP circuit main event at Playground shattered records, generating 1,978 entries and a $4.45 million prize pool, the largest in World Series of Poker circuit history. This is the first of 4 massive WSOP-C events on the Playground schedule for 2026, and every one of them is a can't-miss event. Be a part of history. Visit playground.ca/sickpodcast or click the link in the YouTube description to spin a virtual wheel for a chance to win up to $100 in free play. Brian Wilde of Global TV Montreal was at the game. He was at the Bell Center. He had a chance to go in the locker room at the end of the game, and he had a chance to go to Marty St. Louis' press conference. He caught up, Brian did, with Jake Evans on Marty St. Louis hitting a milestone in wins. Let's hear what Jake Evans had to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's a great coach because he's hard on us when he needs to be, and he reasons with us when sometimes we deserve better and it didn't go our way. And I think the California trip, we, for the most part, deserved those results, and he pushed us to get better and understood that we're chasing standards and not just certain results.
This was his 150th win tonight, Coach. Just how much are his fingerprints on it?
I mean, they're all over it. It's he works with all of us individually, he works with us as a group, and I feel like we've all become better people and better players throughout the years because of him and his passion, and honestly all the coaching staff that's been with him throughout this time. They've been so helpful, and they're also passionate about the game.
Better people is a thing.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. Usually you don't hear that. It's all about the game.
Yeah,
but he makes you feel.
I mean, you hear hockey's a business, but I think around here we obviously know it's a business still, but there's that family aspect to it as well, where we're all very close with each other, and the coaching staff treats us as equals and chats all the time with us, which I think goes a long way.
Thank you, Jake.
Pierre, he works with us as a team, and he works with us as a group, and he works with us individuals, and he makes us better players, and he makes us better people. You hear that about Marty St. Louis. What can you tell me, Pierre?
That's really important, especially with this generation of athlete. They want to be treated with respect. You've heard one other key phrase: he treats us as equals. They want to hear that. They want to be treated that way, and they are treated that way. The Montreal Canadiens are a family. You can see it. It started last summer. We heard all the stories. Guys were living in town. Guys were practicing. Guys were doing extra work. You saw Lane Hutson and Demidov go to the outdoor rink in NDG, not far from where I grew up skating. And I was like thinking, wow, that's cool. That's so great. So these guys are proud of the city they represent. They're obviously proud of the logo they're part of. And I think the biggest thing is the coach creates a standard for them all to live by.
Before we get to Sid Seixeiro, of course, I want to get to all the locker room reaction. Alex Carier, I'm finally holding a lead with the goalie pulled on the other team. I mean, this is something that's come back to bite the Montreal Canadiens. We saw it come back to bite to them, to bite them on that West Coast trip. It didn't tonight, Pierre. They were able to hold on. Let's hear from Alex Carier.
Had a push in the second. I think we lost a bit of momentum there, but then I'm happy with how we showed up in the third. Got to close it, and obviously Dobie was solid when we needed him to.
It's been something you've been working on recently, the 6-on-5 to when the goalie's pulled. It's been a bit of a nemesis. It was nice to.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, something we worked on. It was a big thing we talked about before the game, during the game. Even after the break and stuff like that in our neutral zone. So it was good to get that one.
All right, Pierre, that one there, what a play by Mike Matheson at the end. Who's on the ice? Phil Deneau, Jake Evans, Josh Anderson, Mike Matheson, and Caden Gouhle are on the ice. And Tavares takes a shot. Matheson blocks it. There's a loose puck. Oliver Ekman-Larsson goes for it. Matheson dives for it, swings with his stick. The puck gets out of the zone. It's a race for it. Jake Evans wins a physical battle and breaks away and taps it into an empty net. Pierre, it was a question in the end of who wanted it more. And the Canadiens, Matheson, Evans, and company, they wanted it more.
So first, it's a shot block with the right leg, the inside extended leg. Second, it's Matheson, who's probably in pain, winning a race because he had been hurt earlier blocking a shot, if you remember, in the third period. He wins that race. He dives flat out, knocks it in the neutral zone. And then obviously it's the skating race between East and Cowan. And, one of the better skaters in the Canadiens, Jake Evans. Jake wins it. Not only does he win the race, he also wins the physical battle. This is exactly why, Tony, I talk a lot, and I know the analytics community gets mad. There's no analytic formula for the play you just described. Zero, nada, none. Hockey is a game of character. Hockey is a game of courage. Hockey is a game of second effort. Hockey is a game of guys willing to do whatever it takes to win. Give me that formula, and I'll start to implement it. But there is no formula for it.
And Alex Newhook talked about what the Montreal Canadiens wanted to do better. Let's hear from Alex Newhook.
A few more goals. So how much of that, like the success tonight, is based on getting the puck deeper and working the offensive zone versus trying to create the rush game?
Yeah, for sure. And I think, against LA, I think with too many pucks, got turned over in neutral zone, and that was a big focus of us, is to not be stubborn in neutral zone. And if you got time, take it. But if not, make sure it gets behind them. And I think we came up with a lot of pucks when we put them behind them tonight. So, again, a good recipe for what's a good win.
Marty's
And there you have it. Wanted to be better in the neutral zone. Without further ado, from the Sid Seixeiro show, live out of Toronto, Sid Seixeiro, what's going on?
That was the most lopsided 3-1 game I've ever seen.
The Leafs lost. Shocking.
Yeah, shocking. No, this, I have to tell you, the last 10 minutes of the second period was like a foreign concept to me. Like I don't know what got in the Leafs. They decided to play a little bit. And thank God Easton Cowan saw some top line time. Like, what are we doing here? Like, let the kid play, let him develop, let him make the mistakes. I don't care. Just let him get his minutes. We now know that Bo Grew will be part of that French team in the French Alps 4 years from now in the Olympics. Get that kid on the French team for those Olympics. Let me tell you right now. Can we talk about Bo Grew for a second? I'm being serious. Show me you want to be a Leaf. Show me you want to play. He turned, was it Matheson? Who was the defenseman? Dobson. Forgive me. It was Dobson. He almost turned him into a pretzel. Good for him. Good for him. Now, hopefully he didn't put Matheson out for an extended period. I know he took a shot off the thigh or something like that. But I saw weird things from the Leafs, which has been the theme here. But big picture from the Toronto side, because you guys got the Habs thing covered up, although I do have questions for the both of you. But this is now 8 straight losses out of the break. 8 straight losses out of the break. Craig Berube, who arguably didn't have a handle on this before the break. I don't know what I'm watching here. I'm seeing, I'll ask the both of you, and Pierre, I'll start with you. I am seeing a team blatantly, aside from 2 guys, Grew and Cowan, start to quit on their head coach in a very overt, public, uncomfortable way. Are you seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I absolutely am. And you know what it is? It's those guys are not a captive audience. And so you're absolutely right about that. You can see it. I'll also include Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I think he's actually given an effort. I really do. And, I like the fact that there was a response when Brendan Gallagher stepped up and hit Easton Cowan. I like the fact that Jake McCabe stepped in there. Yeah, I think that's because Jake McCabe's a leader. It's not because he's doing it for Craig Berube. But I think you're onto something. I really do. And it pains me to say that. It really does.
Pierre, I said via Twitter, I tweeted that there was actually 2 winners following that situation. Jake McCabe for going to defense of a younger player and standing up for him, and Brendan Gallagher in the fight, who delivered a couple of heavy ones on McCabe. My God, Brendan Gallagher's got the heart the size of the Bell Center, and what a firecracker he is. He did really, really well in that situation, but he did catch Cowan late, and he caught him up high, and he got the interference penalty for that. I agree with Sid. I think the images don't lie. The images that we saw the other night of a bunch of players on the ice and on the bench totally tune Craig Berube out. I don't think that lies, and I think we saw it tonight. And I agree with Sid when he says that's one of the most lopsided 3-1 wins. I started the show saying, Pierre, how did this come down to the Leafs only being down a goal and the Canadiens scoring a goal in an empty net? I couldn't believe it. At one point, it looked like the Canadiens were the Harlem Globetrotters and the Leafs were the Washington Generals. To the Leafs' defense, they did wake up for about good 6-7 minutes in second period. And I said before the game tonight on our brand new pregame show, the Habs tonight, which debuted tonight, I said, the first period is the key of the game. If the Canadiens grab a lead by a couple of goals, the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to just lay over and die. And it wasn't a big-time performance by them, but it still came down to an empty net goal to seal the deal for the Montreal Canadiens. Speaking of which, the Habs, Brian Wilde is brought to you by Fruiterie de l'Art, a family-run business, a mainstay in the LaSalle community since 1995. Proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors they have for the past 30 years. From fresh fruits and produce delivered daily to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches, you'll find personalized service and friendly faces that make you feel like family at Fruiterie de l'Art. Let's bring in Brian Wilde.
Brian Wilde.
Brian, say hi to Pierre and Sid. We don't hear you, Brian. There we go.
There we go. That was me. I think I muted that myself. I got confused. It happens when you get a little older. Hey, Sid, how you doing? Nice to have you along.
Great to talk to you, Brian. I have to say I'm envious of the background, that cathedral of hockey that you're standing in right now.
I got the best.
I'm doing
gig
my
in the
best
world.
here. I got a Jordan picture. I got Probert and Domi in the other side of the room. I'm trying my best to keep up here, but you're making us look bad, sir.
And
really
something
are.
happened to your hockey team. Like, this was not supposed to happen this year, Sid.
I do not own stock, sir. Let us get this very clear on the Wall Street.
Your city's
scenario.
hockey team, sir.
Yes, the city. But the city's in a weird spot. Like, it's starting to turn in terms of, like, I don't think fans are overly upset at this tonight.
Why not?
Because they want to get that top 5 protected pick in the Brandon Carlo trade. That's why.
It's a sad state of affairs. It's not the way it's supposed to be in a city. In a city as rich in Stanley Cup history as Toronto.
I have a question for you, Sid, if I may.
Yes, go ahead, please.
Is Auston Matthews aging or just in a slump for now?
Well, listen, the one thing I'll say this about Austin throughout this entire disastrous stretch. At least he's gotten his 5 to 6 shots in the game. Now, you were in the building.
Mm-hmm.
The score sheet says 2. The eye test said, 2. Could have been 1. If I would have believed if you told me 1. What did you see from a $13.25 million against the cap player tonight? What did you notice?
Well, actually, I thought he had an okay game. Like, I wouldn't, like, the ones that I've watched on TV recently, I saw a player really not that engaged. But I thought he was pretty engaged tonight. And the more they booed him, I think the more pissed off he got. And I think it upped his effort a little bit as the night went on. Like, I mean, nobody put in any effort at all in the first period. That was pretty ridiculous. I have not seen the Leafs look that bad for a decade. But in the second period and third, I thought he got a little bit pissed at the proceedings and didn't have a bad game at all. So I wasn't at that moment ready to say, man, this guy's he's aging out. In terms of, the numbers he put up in the goal category that were super high back in the day are never happening again. But he got his shots. He got his looks. He passed it off a couple times when that was the right play too. So I didn't see a player pressing, to be honest.
Hey, Brian, you didn't see the Leafs play against the Florida Panthers right after the Olympics.
I did not see that game.
They were so bad. That's about it. They were the worst I've ever seen them.
You know what? Screw the Leafs. Let's talk about the team that was good tonight. Let's talk about the Montreal Canadiens, guys. All right, okay. And I know Sid wants to talk about them. Sid's a winner. He's got a Michael Jordan frame in his house. You think he wants to talk about the Leafs? By the way, why don't you have one of Kawhi? All right, okay. Who cares? Let's talk about the Canadiens lineup, guys. Hold on a second. I have to do this, okay? This is odd, okay? This is odd. Sid's in Toronto, and he's got a Michael Jordan frame, okay? I'm in Montreal, and I have this.
Tony has left his chair, taken off the headset, walking to pick up a mystery item. The three of us have no idea the item that Tony is about to pick up. We are waiting with bated breath from 3
It will not
seconds.
be a Canadiens item, though.
It's Kawhi. You have a Raptors poster, photo, whatever that is. Look at you. Look, there you go. I knew there was Toronto in you, Tony. I knew it. Well played, sir. Well played.
All right, there you have it. The Kawhi shot versus the 76ers in frame by frame, by the way. There's a bunch of
Pierre, do you have Bobby Orr?
Beautiful
I
collage.
do have Bobby Orr, but not here.
No.
See, I remember somehow you had a Bobby Orr somewhere, Pierre, in your
So do I,
background
by the
one
way.
day.
So do I. I got
Yeah.
the Bobby Orr goal scored versus the St. Louis Blues with him flying in the air, and I have it autographed and I have it framed as well. All right, okay.
If I could tilt up, I got every legend in the book.
Let's talk about the game, guys. Let's talk about the starting lineup, the Canadian starting lineup. Let's get to it. All right, Suzuki with Slafkovsky on the right, Caulfield on the left, Kapanen with Demidov and Newhook, Evans with Doc and Bolduc, Danault with Gallagher and Anderson, Matheson with Dobson, Gouhle with Hutson, Xhekaj with Carier, and Jakub Dobes in goal. Brian, you went into the locker room and you went to the coach's press conference. Did Marty St. Louis address who's going to be a starting goalie tomorrow night?
No, he didn't. That was not asked of him, believe it or not. Through all of the questions that he faced, he was asked about Cole Caulfield and why he didn't play much. The answer was his health. He was feeling a little bit sick, and Caulfield will go to Ottawa for the game tomorrow, but he was not asked about his goalie. I assume it's Montembeault back-to-back.
All right, so Caulfield was feeling sick, so he didn't pull anything. Good, so it's just under the weather.
Yeah.
Maybe
I got a
flu bug
question
or
for
something.
Brian, why do you just assume that it's going to be Montembeault? They've got kid faced 18 shots tonight.
Yeah, that's a really good point. But just historically, Martin St. Louis has never gone, I don't think, maybe one time he's gone back-to-back with the same goalie. So I just assume he's following his same path. And you know what? We obviously, as a media, because there were like 35 guys in there that never thought to ask who's your goalie tomorrow. And I remember when Carey Price played every single goddamn game, and we still asked. So I don't know why we didn't ask tonight. But yeah, that's my assumption, just based on his history. He very, very rarely. I can only remember one time he went same guy back to back, and it backfired that night.
And you know why it happened, right? It only did happen one time back to back this season because Samuel Montembeault was sick, as a matter of fact.
That's right.
Jakub Dobes played both games. But guys, I got to say this. I was asked earlier today, or I talked about it earlier today, who I would play in these two games. And I said, I usually always say split the goalies on back-to-back. But I said, I'm going to hold off, and I want to see how Dobish plays versus Toronto, what his body of work is like, how many shots he faces or doesn't, before I actually tell you who I think should play tomorrow. So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going back with Jakub Dobes tomorrow. Wow. This is the biggest game of the year for the Ottawa Senators. They're 3 points behind the Boston Bruins, but before tonight's game, they were 5 points behind the Montreal Canadiens. This is a 4-point game. It's big for the Canadiens. It's even bigger for Ottawa. Mind you, you can make the argument it's equally big for the Canadiens because if they actually win the 4-point game, they'll pull away from Ottawa, and that could be the difference between now and the end of the year. I'm playing Dobish. I spoke with Marty Biron, of course, TSN hockey analyst, and with the NHL Network, and does work for the Buffalo Sabres and their network as well, talking Sabres hockey. And Marty Biron said, you know what, Tony, I think you're right. If it's an easy night for Jakub Dobes, he wins, he plays well, go back with Dobish in Ottawa. And then, if you recall the West Coast trip last week, Dobish lost to San Jose, and Montembeault lost to Anaheim. So give Montembeault San Jose and give Dobish Anaheim on Sunday. So don't give them the teams that they lost to. Sid, what are your thoughts on 2 games and 2 nights? Would you go back to Dobish?
The only reason I wouldn't is because I guarantee you, like, let's go back to the weekend. Tampa's game against the Leafs was very different from their game against Buffalo, correct? We can all agree on that?
Yes.
2 different games.
Yeah.
My concern with throwing the 18 saves is a great point. My concern is that Sens team, you're going to throw them out there tomorrow. You're going to get Tkachuk and Ridley Gregg, and you're going to get guys in that crease, is my only concern. So for that reason alone, because I think Dobish is starting your first game in the playoffs. I think he has to. So I'd start to look at it from that frame of mind, and I would keep him out. And if Montembeault can hang in there tomorrow, then awesome. Aces. It's even better. I'm worried in this day and age, maybe I've been programmed too to hate this idea, but part of me really doesn't like it, considering that team tomorrow will not have close to the aggression that they saw tonight. Tonight was practice in terms of hits, in terms of physicality. Jake McCabe aside, like, honestly, it was light work. It was light work for the Habs. And tomorrow, I just would rather the muscle memory for Dobish won't be great tomorrow for a game like that.
Jakub Dobes is 11-1-2 in his last 14 games, and thus far this season, 21-6-4. Pierre McGuire, your response to what Sid just had to say. The Sens are going to come at the Canadiens goalie. They're going to crash the crease. Could be a difficult night for Dobish in that regard. If the playoffs start, Dobish is going to be your guy. Rest Dobish, Sid says. Your response.
All really good points except the last one. I'm playing Dobish tomorrow because of the 18 shots he faced tonight. And I think the Canadiens know what Brady brings. I think they know what Greg brings. I think they know what Pinto brings. I think they understand what Dylan Cousins. They understand. They know that team. Drake Batherson's another part of it. I would say if I'm Ottawa, I'm a little bit worried because if I watch the Montreal Canadiens cycle game tonight and they employ that against my team without Jake Sanderson, my team's in trouble. If I'm Montreal, I'm going right after that Ottawa defense. I'm spending way more time in their zone than they are in mine, so I'm not worried about them crease crashing. And I'll tell you right now, like I was shocked that they handled Vancouver. They held Vancouver to 16 shots on goal. I know Vancouver's not very good, but they're going to stack it up. And if they play a kitty bar the door game, they're not going to put a lot of duress, I don't think, on the goalie, whomever it might be from Montreal.
How shocking is it that the Canadiens are 17 games over NHL 500 and Dobish has 15 of them?
Yeah.
That's just shocking. The other guy's 2 over NHL 500.
Guys, I remember getting into a pretty animated conversation with Eric, who's obviously a collaborator that's been with me for a long time, and definitely respect his opinions. I know he's very, very plugged. But I remember a show early on in the season, and I told Eric, I said, Montembeault wasn't very good in October. It wasn't very good in November, December, January. But I said to him, I said, Eric, Montembeault wasn't very good in preseason either. He disagreed on that, but it's been a bad preseason to start of the season, to midway point of the season, to down the stretch season here for Montembeault. We're talking about an athlete who has clearly lost his confidence and his swagger. Things go well until he actually gives up. The first goal on 5 or 6 or 7 occasions actually happened on the first shot. And once he gives up that first goal, nervousness tends to kick in. You see him a little bit rattled. We saw on the West Coast trip, he had real difficulty with shots from far. And once again, look, his confidence is not going to get better by not going back with him tomorrow. I get that. But maybe his confidence would get worse if he would play it and he would get shelled. So I'm going back with Dobish tomorrow, which is very rare that I do that for 2 games and 2 nights. Guys, let's get to the Toronto lineup before we
Just before you go to the Toronto lineup, I just want to say one thing about Montembeault. I don't know if the men agree with me or not.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you one. I think Montembeault's season went awry when he saw the Olympic team slipping away from him. And I think it broke him. I truly believe that. You talk about a loss of confidence. Every single goal that was going in, he was saying, how can I not be on this team? How can I not be on this team? He heard all the chatter, and then he sees the start that Logan Thompson's having in Washington, and he's saying, oh, my gosh. And then he sees what's going on in L.A. when they're on the road. They're losing at home. They're winning on the road. And he's going, oh, my gosh, I'm going to get beat by that guy too. I think he lost his confidence, and a big reason why is because of the Olympic stuff. I'm telling you right now.
Can I add a stat?
Yeah.
He is bottom 5 in the entire NHL in low danger shot saves.
Not good.
Like the 50-footer that's not screened, that somehow he's
Anaheim game, Tony.
I think it's a pretty good point by Pierre. I think Morgan Rielly lost his confidence when he was told that if Canada was going to ice 4 teams, he wasn't going to be on them.
He was not good tonight, Morgan.
I don't think he had to be told that.
Morgan,
I think he would figure that out on his own. But Pierre, sorry, Tony. To Pierre's point, though, and I don't know if you guys were getting the same commercials around the Montreal area. I saw Montembeault in some of those Olympic hype commercials leading up. Like, don't tell me his mind wasn't exactly where Pierre was suggesting there. That kid clearly thought something was coming, and it went completely off the rails, and you're seeing the after effects. I think it's a great point.
We just talked about Morgan Rielly, guys. I saw some Canadians go around him like he wasn't even there tonight. It was scary bad. All right, okay. We're going to discuss. Let's take a look at the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup, and then we'll take a look at the score sheet. Matthews had Domi on his line. Maybe that's a problem. And Matthew Nyes. Tavares with Nylander and Michelli. Grew with Robertson and Cowan. Quillen with Joshua and Lawrence. Rielly on defense with Carlo. McCabe with Ekman Larson. Benoit with Stetcher, and in goal, it was Joseph Wall. Let's get to the scoring, guys. And we get to it. It's Oliver Kapanen. Great work by Demidov, Pierre McGuire on the boards to protect the puck versus two players, Oliver Ekman Larson and John Tavares. Passes the puck in the slot to Newhook, who finds Kapanen, who gets in behind Carlo. Nylander can't get to him in time, and Kapanen, quick move in close. And Pierre, you see the big smile by Kapanen for two reasons. Number one, he puts the Canadiens up by a score of 1-0. Number two, he just cashed in on a $250,000 bonus for scoring 20 goals.
I saw that, and I'll never forget listening to Badger Bob Johnson. We're playing the last game of the year in New York City, and he goes, "Anybody have a bonus on their contract?" And Randy Gillen goes, "I do." And Bob goes, "Get on the first power play." He'd never been on the power play in his life.
Did he get his bonus?
That's the first thing I thought of.
Did he get it?
Yeah, he got it.
Awesome.
It was for 10 points. You got it.
Awesome.
For 10 points.
Brian, you remember Slafkovsky got the bonus as well.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. You hear me?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Slafkovsky was strong tonight. The first, tonight the three lines started to show a little bit of chemistry. I really like Doc's line with Evans and Bolduc. I thought that was the first time that they started to really see each other without looking. And Newhook seems to be a pretty nice fit on that second line with Demidov and Kapanen. Just saw a lot of chemistry. That's what Martin said.
I just want to say one thing in defense of it all, because I talked to Sid about it earlier before Tony joined us on the pregame show. And I thought Montreal had to play a four-line game to dominate this thing. And the big reason why is because you got Scott Lawton, who's playing out in L.A., and you got Nicky Roy, who's playing in Colorado, and you got Bobby McMahon, who's playing out in Seattle.
Right.
So they've stripped it down to the studs with their depth players. And if you see Jake Evans, great game, right? We all would agree.
Yes.
And so Brendan Gallagher, solid game. Josh Anderson, solid game. So all those depth players were not playing against elite. I'll just use Jakub Quillen as an example. Jakub Quillen played with my kid in Penticton, BC in junior hockey. Jakub Quillen is a winger. He's not a centerman. He played at Quinnipiac. He's a winger. As a free agent, he gets signed by Toronto. He plays in the American League. He's a winger. They got to play him there because they don't have any bodies. So that's why the Canadiens dominated that bottom six matchup.
But that's crazy to think that they don't have anyone with the Marlies who's actually a centerman that they can play instead of Quillen, who's a winger.
They don't. And I think Sid will back me up, right, Sid?
They don't.
Nothing there.
I don't. The most telling thing we saw here in Toronto is they were just going in the tank. And this, believe it or not, this is not the worst period. The worst period was the Mitch Marner homestand.
Yes.
When they just laid down. I think when Anaheim rolled through Colorado. I mean, Colorado are the best team, but the Marner game was just an embarrassment. And that was the worst part. They would never call anyone up. They were dying for defensemen. They're dying for a depth forward. Any scoring from that third line. Tony, they called nobody because the aisle 4 was barren. There was nowhere to shop. There was nowhere to go to get a deal. Nowhere to fill your cart. And this has been, but this is like the issue. Whether it's picks, whether it's prospects, whether it's kids in college in the States, CHL kids up here, the Leafs do not have someone you can point to, aside from Easton Cowan, God bless him, where you go, in 3 years, it could be this or it could be that. And tonight, I'm glad Quillen's getting a shot. And listen, they're hardworking kids, are riding buses. I support it. I think it's great.
Well, that's what happens. That's what happens when you've been at the top of the standings for 10 years, though.
Yeah.
Where the prospect's going to come when you draft 25th. They're a lower level. It's as simple as that. The Canadiens, the cupboards are full, right? And there's a reason for it.
Just going to say that, Brian. The cupboards are full with the Canadiens. And by the way, Ivan Demidov was in the mood to play hockey tonight. He came to play. Pierre, I thought that the last month and a half or so, guys like Oliver Kapanen, guys like Ivan Demidov, two young players, two rookies in the National Hockey League, condensed schedule because of the Olympics, fatigue starting to set in. You know, they had played a lot of games. They had played some pretty important minutes, and they brought their minutes down a little bit. And their performances had dipped in the last month or month and a half or so. But early on, from the very first shift of the hockey game, Pierre, especially Demidov, he was feeling it tonight, Pierre.
Oh, he was, absolutely. He was trying to walk guys. He was slick with the puck. He was good. I like his game tonight a lot.
Let's go back to the story, guys. Jakub Dobes. This is a moment I think we have to remember in the hockey game, guys. Pierre, you talked about Quillen with speed down the right side, a backhand to the net. Dobish sticks out his right pad, makes the save. The rebound goes straight to Dakota Joshua within 2 feet, and he looks like he's going to jam it into an empty cage. Right pad save again by Dobish. With the score 1-0 Montreal, and it probably wouldn't have made a difference. Maybe it would have made it, it wouldn't have. But I think it was a big save in that game because, of course, instead of being 1-1, the Canadiens end up going up 2-0 later on a goal by Phil Deneau. Pierre, talk to me about that save by Dobish.
Well, it's athleticism, it's urgency, it's being focused, it's focusing in on the puck, focusing away from the puck. I was really impressed by Jakub tonight. And you know what I liked the biggest part? When he was catching pucks, he wasn't just catching them, he was snaring them. He was hard on the puck. He was trying to show the coach, hey, dude, trust me. I know what I'm doing. I'm ready to play. He was making a statement. I thought he made a statement with that save. It's a great point. It's a really good point.
Brian, do you see the swagger not only in the game, but even after the game, all of a sudden the confidence with the crowd, he comes out, he's one of the stars of the hockey game.
He's going like this.
The crowd to basically applaud even more. I mean, to think how far this young man has come after breaking down in an overtime loss in Jersey, where Pierre McGuire said, this is concerning. And he's not the only one who said that. Everyone said that. He's come a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the times after the game that I was talking to him, he used the word flow. And flow is a word that psychiatrists and psychoanalysts use, and people that don't go to a psychiatrist don't ever use the word. And flow for an athlete is when you're just so in the zone, you just forget where you are and you're just enjoying the moment and loving the sport that you play, and there's nothing negative on your mind. So he definitely does go to a psychiatrist, and so you'll see that he has a very good sense of where he is and what he wants to be and where his growth can take him as a person and the way he develops, not only, you know, technically as a goalie, but the swagger that he believes that he needs to bring to be at his best. And yeah, that swagger isn't an accident. He's working on it.
Well, he's talked about having a mental performance coach, and he talks about visualization as well during the breaks. He does not go to the bench to talk to his teammates or drink water during the breaks. He mimics
saves.
That's exactly what he does. Sid, we talked about the Leafs and we talked about Morgan Rielly. The goal that made it 2-0, there's a hard dump by Gouhle off the boards. It takes a favorable Bell Center bounce for the Canadiens, and basically
extension special.
But I thought it was a question of who wanted it more at that point. Didn't you see how more alert Deneau was than Morgan Rielly? Sid, before I let you go, and Deneau goes in all alone, backhand to forehand goal to make it 2-0 Montreal. Sid, what's wrong with Morgan Rielly? Is he another one who's like, just okay, this season's over?
He's lost his speed, his confidence, and doesn't trust his instincts. Aside from that, things are going great.
Wow.
No, that's true. This is where it's painful to watch an older athlete go through the outside of his career. I've known this kid since he played in the Crush Can in Moose Jaw. Trust me, this is not more. Crush Can was an admirable name for the old rink in Moose Jaw. And there was a great AMW right across the street from it. Trust me. When it was a cold night, you go get the big hamburger and you drive to Regina. Anyways, Morgan. when I saw Morgan playing there, I was like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's going to be a good player." And he was a good player. From what now you see, he's at the back end, and it's very painful to watch this. Really.
Well, but the one thing. Sorry, Tone, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I did the one thing I did notice. I mean, it was a weird goal. Like of all the guys, I've seen a lot of. The one thing I've seen more than any other this season watching Leafs broadcast here in Toronto, Leafs get scored on, the truck cuts an ISO shot to 44 because it was normal. He was normally kind of at fault. Like I've seen that more times than I can count this year.
Yeah,
I believe he's been on the ice more times for 5 on 5 goals than anyone else in the league.
Yeah, they got the assassin cam out there. That's what they do.
Yeah,
that's true.
So I'm going to trust my instincts and let Sid go, because it must be painful for him to talk about how painful it is to watch the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Sid Seixeiro Show, weekdays at 12 p.m. Follow them on YouTube. Follow them on Instagram. Follow their Facebook page. If you haven't followed them already, they're making a lot of noise. A couple of weeks in, one of the top podcasts in the country, but no surprise to me. Sid doing an amazing job. Your co-host Fit is a perfect compliment to your show as well. It's awesome. We love it. Like it a little bit less when you talk about the Leafs, but other than that, we love it. Thank you, Sid. We'll talk to you soon.
Gentlemen, take care. You know what? The real sad aspect of this is the last Leaf Hab game of the year.
It is. But
let's do it next year then.
Look at the bright side. The Leafs didn't add to their team at the trade deadline, but people close to the situation say that they are the front runners to actually sign 2 very coveted Russian free agents. So at least help is on the way. Did you hear about them?
No, I didn't. No.
Samarov and Tioff. Ciao, Sid.
I knew it was coming. I could have bet my life one was coming. I knew there weren't free agents.
Brian, I'm listening to go there and I'm trying to do the math. Which 2 free agents is he talking about? And then he says something off. I'm like, no, okay.
Yeah, they bringing back Kuznetsov? What? I don't understand. I've never heard this.
By the way, you talked about Morgan Rielly. Based on information that I was told back in the day, that's the guy that Marc Bergevin wanted to draft with the 3rd pick overall in the 2020 draft. But because he had just been hired as general manager of the Montreal Canadiens, I believe on May 2nd, 2012, and the draft was in the last weekend of June, he wanted to put confidence in his people. So Trevor Timmins and his staff actually made that pick, and they went with Alex Galchenyuk. But I believe the guy that Bergevin liked most was Morgan Rielly, based on what someone whispered in my ear, but I could be wrong. All right, okay.
I'll tell you, because I was a runner-up for that job.
Okay.
And I was asked who I would have drafted, and I said Morgan Rielly.
Wow. I don't know why I didn't get the job. I was going to draft Forsberg.
That's fine.
Well, I got some truth for you. I really like Galchenyuk.
The skill level was good, but he wasn't one of. I didn't think you could go another mile with him, but I thought you could with Morgan. You know what? Morgan had some really good years. He did. Just the culture, there's something flawed in Toronto.
Brian is just way too honest. I was hoping he was going to say he would have drafted Vasilevsky. That would have been great.
Yeah, all right, no, I was a big Galchenyuk fan, even though he was injured that year. I saw the highlights and heard a little bit about him, and I thought he was going to be that center they were looking for. But you know what?
Yeah.
Not to, go into a great diatribe about Galchenyuk, but boy, he just never learned how to play the center position. Like I watched Kapanen tonight, for example.
Yeah.
And I don't think when all's said and done, if the Stanley Cup champion is the Montreal Canadiens and everybody's dancing in the streets on St. Catherine, I don't think Kapanen is your 2C, but I do love the player. I think that his shooting percentage is showing us that this total of 20 will be hard for him to replicate through the years. But boy, that guy plays smart hockey, man. He's a goddamn smart hockey player, and he goes to the right spot all the time, man.
And that's why when trade deadline came around and a lot of people were throwing out his name, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to tell you he's an untouchable, because he's not, but I just rather not trade that player because
he's so smart.
Someone very close to the Canadiens organization and I had a chat, and he said to me, I think Oliver Kapanen one day is going to score 25 goals playing on a 3rd line. Yeah. Not 25 playing on a 2nd like he might score this year, 25 playing on a 3rd. And I said, you know what? I think he can do it as well.
He has a sneaky quick release. Like, that's why his shooting percentage is what it is. But the intelligence he brings, he reminds me of Lehkonen Arturi Lehkonen, just because they're both Finnish and they both have the same kind of body size and everything like that. But he's always angling guys off. He seems to know exactly where the puck's going. Before I finish for the evening, I want to mention one thing that I really did like that Martin St. Louis said, if I could.
Tell me.
He said,
He looked like he was in a good mood, by the way. I didn't have
he was in a good mood. My favorite thing that he said, because I love all these Marty witticisms and moments of brilliance, just the way he speaks just captivates me. He said, I loved our first period the most because the puck did all the work. Yeah. So he didn't even feel like his guys worked that hard because the puck was doing all the work for him.
They were moving it. They were moving
it.
They were feeling it. The Sick Podcast is brought to you in part by Labitt TB. For big games, you want the best beers on your team. Whether it's Labitt TB IPA with bold flavor, Labitt TB Lager with exceptional smoothness, or Labitt TB Ultra Lager, which is ultra light and ultra refreshing. They always have a place on your team. Labitt TB brewed for special occasions. Please drink responsibly. If you want in on the action tomorrow night when the Canadiens are in Ottawa, go all the way with Betway and get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Brian, since you're going to go now, I'll leave final words from you.
Martin St. Louis loved the first period, and then he loved the way they controlled the rest of the game, even though they did lose a little of their energy for it. They worked hard on 5 versus 6 at the in practice. They wanted to become better at it. They know it's been an Achilles heel, getting scored on 10 times empty net, and they did work on it. And that play, I don't know if you mentioned it, but that play by Mike Matheson with like 35 seconds left, that to me was as outstanding an effort as you make in a hockey game, knowing how magical that blue line is, and if the puck gets over it, you win that game. And I love that moment for him.
That was an incredible 15 seconds or so. It really was. Brian, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, see you tomorrow, okay?
Yeah, talk to you tomorrow.
See you, Brian.
All right.
By the way, we'll keep an eye on the storm, right? They're talking about a storm coming, and we'll talk about it. Mind you, we will be here tomorrow, of course, with the Habs post-game show right here on the Sick Podcast. Pierre, when the Canadiens played on last week in San Jose and in Anaheim and in Los Angeles, of course, they came away with 3 out of a possible 6 points. I was on radio last night with Mario Langlois, 98.5 FM, Cogeco Media, Montreal, of course, Les Amateurs de Sport. And I said to Mario, Mario, the hockey the Canadiens played in California, unfortunately, that kind of hockey just won't work in the playoffs. You cannot give up that many shots, that many primetime scoring chances, that many goals, and expect to win games or a series. It won't happen. It just won't. Pierre, the win tonight, that's the type of game you need to play in the playoffs, and that's the way you need to play to win in the playoffs. Everyone would have liked to maybe have breathed a little bit easier with a 5-1 win or a 6-1 win. I bet you deep down inside, Marty St. Louis is really happy that they were tested with an empty net in a 1-goal game with a couple of minutes left in the game, and they won the game the way they won the game in the final couple of minutes. I bet you that he's probably really happy it ended this way. This could be a blessing in disguise for this team, the fact that they had to win a game that was close on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it was a live fire exercise, too. They had to kill off a couple penalties in the second period as well, and they did a good job of that. Brian talked about the Matheson effort, the shot block, the stretch out, the bat the puck out of the zone. All that stuff is what you're talking about. Winning races to make plays, moving the puck smartly. Were there some turnovers? Yeah, Dobson had a bad turnover that leads to the Nylander goal. Were there some bad reads? Yeah, Arbor-Jacka had a couple bad reads. Those can get fixed. They're not mistakes where guys are trying to do them on purpose. They're mistakes of guys trying to be over-aggressive and make good things happen. They made mistakes, but they're trying to make good things happen. So you correct those at the moment. On the moment that it happens, you correct them when they get to the bench. But you're all excited because your team got pushed. And now they're ready. They're ready to go battle in Ottawa. That's going to be a really hard game. Ottawa's going to bring their A game, and Ottawa's playing really good defensive hockey right now.
Fearful Memory says this was not a playoff game because Toronto was a soft match. I'm talking about the fact that it was a close game on the scoreboard. I'm talking about the fact that Toronto pulled their goalie. I'm talking about the fact that the Canadiens have conceded in the final minute or 2 minutes of a game when the other team pulls their goalie. The fact that they had defensive responsibilities to take care of. The fact that they used their body to block shots, that they had second efforts and third efforts, that Mike Matheson dove for pucks, that Jake Evans and Phil Deneau and Josh Anderson took it so personally to want to defend that 1-goal lead. Their commitment to defense, their commitment to killing penalties down the stretch that you talked about, their commitment to blocking shots. Mike Matheson had blocked a shot earlier on in the hockey game. So that's what I meant by that. And, it's good for your goalie as well when you're in a 1-goal game down the stretch. It's, chances are they're going to be in 1-goal games in the playoffs. They're not going to be in a lot of games where it's going to be a difference of 3, 4, 5 goals. This was good. This was good for Jakub Dobes as well, Pierre.
Yo, 100%. He had to make some good glove saves. I mean, I know he had only faced 18 shots, but he had to make a couple really good glove saves. You talked about timely goaltending. The save that he made at the beginning of the game, well, not the beginning, but in the first period against Jakota Joshua, that's a big-time save.
Yes.
That's a big-time save, and that's a momentum-crushing save for Toronto. If that puck goes in, it's 1-1, and it's a way different game probably. No, I agree with the one thing that the caller said or the writer said. Did Toronto bring an A game? No, but that's not Montreal's fault. Montreal's got to play the game the way they're supposed to play the game, and they did. They played smart in a 1-goal game. They did a good job.
Pierre, there are a couple of people in the YouTube chat right now who have messaged, why not bring up Jacob Fowler for tomorrow's game in Ottawa? I'm going to get your opinion on that in just a second. I want to give them a shout out and thank you for watching us live on YouTube, live on Facebook, live on Twitter. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. And once you do so, tell your friends and family about it because we'd like to make this sick community a heck of a lot sicker. You know what? The street is going to get busy at around this time between now and the end of the year and probably over the next couple of years because the Canadiens provide an exciting brand of hockey and it looks like they're going to be pretty good for a while. We remain committed to bringing you the best Montreal Canadiens coverage and analysis. Pierre McGuire is in for the long haul with me. He's already mentioned that to me on numerous occasions, and I thank you for that, Pierre. Today was another step in providing the best Montreal Canadiens coverage that we can by bringing back the Habs Tonight, which was one of the original Montreal Canadiens podcasts, whose founder, by the way, is former Montreal Canadian Dale Weiss, who became an entrepreneur over the last couple of years and decided to go into retirement with the podcast. And we brought it out of retirement and Andrew Thompson, a.k.a. Drew Deeks, and Brandon Legacy, and Anik Lemire, and Shane Gaumont are part of the Habs Tonight. And tonight we had our very own first Montreal Canadiens pregame show. The Habs Tonight will be on before every Montreal Canadiens game, including weekends. 1 hour before the game, every game. Preseason, regular season, playoffs this year and going forward. And we thank them very much for doing that. So right now we cover the Canadiens quite a bit with Le Sick Podcast, du lundi au vendredi à 10h le matin. The Habs Tonight pregame show 1 hour prior to every Montreal Canadiens game. The Sick Podcast, The Eye Test with Jimmy Murphy and Pierre McGuire, which you can catch usually weekdays at 4 p.m. They talk about everything National Hockey League. And because Pierre's got a soft spot for the Canadiens, they usually bring up the Canadiens more often than not. Yeah. And of course, right here on your dedicated Montreal Canadiens postgame show, the Sick Podcast, Monday to Friday in English at 10 p.m. And when the Canadiens have late starts right after those hockey games. All right, okay. We're going to get back to the scoring of the game, Pierre. And back to the score sheet if we can. William Nylander, Pierre. The Canadiens are up 2-0 after one period of play. Noah Dobson. Actually, let me rewind. Defensive zone faceoff. Nick Suzuki wins it clean versus Auston Matthews. He turns, passes the puck to Noah Dobson. Noah Dobson clears the puck, tries to clear it to Kirby Dach. For whatever reason, Pierre, and I know that everyone's going to look at Dobson, and by all means, he made a bad pass. He had to have a better play selection on that one. But Pierre, Why is Kirby Dach leaving the defensive zone before the puck does?
I'll tell you what, one of the things with some of these newfangled face-off plays is they fly the strong side, and they try to force the defense on the strong side boards, who usually pinches down, to back off. And so they just got caught there in a situation where the D didn't back off, and keeps the play alive. And obviously the rest is history. It's a damaging play, and it leads to the Nylander goal. But a lot, if you watch it, you'll see a lot of those face-off plays where they're just going to fly the strong side, and the D's going to try to flip the puck over to create a stretch play.
So Nylander intercepts it inside the blue line. He then feeds Easton Cowan, who slides the puck right back to Nylander. And Jakub Dobes is fooled because he thinks once the puck's going to Easton Cowan, he's probably shooting. And that's a great play selection from Nylander, and an even better play selection from Easton Cowan to give it back to him, Pierre.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. Easton Cowan obviously got exposed on the empty net goal by Jake Evans, but I was happy to see him move up in the lineup. They played him with some good players. They played him with Nylander. They played him with Matthews. They gave him some time with Tavares. They're trying to get him going, which is a good thing. He showed a little bit of his offensive flair there. I thought it was really a creative play and smart play.
Pierre, we talked about Demidov, and I said he was going tonight.
Yeah.
Pierre Slafkovsky was dominant tonight, Pierre.
Hey, you look at that whole Western trip. He was dominant in LA. He was really good going back on the line with Slafkovsky, with Suzuki and Caulfield in Anaheim.
Yeah.
People forget how good he was on that line in that game. He's just wait till he gets really strong. This is going to be scary. This team's going to be so good, Tony. Tony, this team's going to be really good.
Yeah. There was a play where Dobson to Hutson to Slav. It was a dominant shift by the Canadiens' number one line. Dobson to Hutson to Slav. I don't think Caulfield was on at that point because Caulfield sat, I think, at 14:23.
Missed about 11 minutes, I think, in a
of the
row
second period. Probably missed a good 5-6 shifts or so, and then came back in the third period when the Canadiens were on a power play. I thought it was odd that he was actually playing back at the point, Pierre, knowing now that he was under the weather and not feeling good. Obviously he wanted to get out there, and it's courageous of the Canadiens and of him to put him out there and for him to want to be there. But it was a little bit risky, don't you think?
Yeah, it was, especially in a one-goal game. Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, if you saw Toronto one time had an opportunity to rush up, and I'm remiss on who the puck carrier was, but they identified that Cole Caulfield was on the left defense, and they tried to attack him. And who I think it was Lane Hutson slid over to try to insulate Cole in that situation. It was a smart play by Lane. But yeah, no, very risky. I would agree with that. That'd be about the only thing that I thought the Canadiens did that was not what you would say hockey smart at that time of the game in that situation.
85.4% chance of making the playoffs for the Montreal Canadiens, courtesy of Money Puck, Pierre. Still 17 games to go for them in their regular season. It's obviously a very encouraging stat, Pierre.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is a good team. Every team's going to go through peaks and valleys. They had their valley out in LA. They had their valley out in Anaheim. They didn't play very well in those games. They got through it in LA. They didn't play well in San Jose. They can say whatever they want. They didn't play well there. So they took 3 of 6 points. I mean, if that's going to be as mad as you're going to get, that's pretty good for a hockey team.
By the way, the Buffalo Sabres' chances of making the playoffs, Pierre, are at 99.1%. The Sabres doubled up on San Jose again. They got physical again. The gloves dropped again. Pierre,
Tony, we talked about it on Friday night, you and I. Was really disappointed. I thought Montreal would do a little more. They obviously didn't do much. Buffalo did a lot, Tony. And I know they're not sexy names, but that Sam Carrick is a nasty piece of business. You know, Logan Stanley got in a fight tonight. He fought Zach Ostapchuk, who's a pretty tough kid. I was in Ottawa when they drafted him. And, Luke Shen is a pro. He's a Stanley Cup winning pro, and he's a lefty. He's a real lefty, and he can fight and he can hit. And he's got some game left too. So Buffalo made themselves a lot better. Buffalo's a good team. Buffalo's a very good team.
The Canadiens, Florida did the Canadiens a favor tonight, Pierre, by beating Detroit by a score of 4-3. Carolina beats Pittsburgh 5-4 in a shootout, so both teams pick up points. Pittsburgh picks up 1, Carolina picks up 2. Never a good scenario. The Islanders win in overtime by a score of 4-3 versus the St. Louis Blues, so they pick up a big win. The New York Islanders do, and the Columbus Blue Jackets, Pierre, who are vying for a playoff for a wild card spot, they go in Tampa and they beat the Lightning by a score of 5-2. Rick Bowness has this team rocking and rolling, Pierre.
And there's no love lost between Rick Bowness and the Tampa Bay Lightning. Remember, he got let go by them when he was an assistant coach. So he must be the happiest guy in the state of Florida right now. Tony, one piece of breaking news. I was watching part of that game between Florida and Detroit. They already lost Dylan Larkin, which they're saying is a lower body injury, and it sure looks like one. And I think Andrew Kopp got hurt tonight. Tomas Nosek fell on him. And if Kopp's out, that's their 2 top centermen gone in Detroit. That's a pretty significant loss for the Red Wings, if in fact that's true. And I believe it is true.
Wow. Let's see what we got here. Let's see if we have the latest on Red Wings centers. Todd McClellan confirmed that Dylan Larkin is doubtful for the rest of the Red Wings road trip, and that Andrew Kopp is already deemed doubtful for Thursday's game.
So I'm just telling you. So that's, I don't know, again, I'm not trying to be a newsbreaker here, but I do watch the games. That's a significant loss. If they're down both those guys, that's a big problem for Detroit.
Okay, let's take a look at the Detroit Red Wings schedule, because the Red Wings, Pierre, host the Montreal Canadiens next week.
That's correct.
Yeah, they host the Canadiens next week. So the Red Wings will be in Tampa on Thursday. Then they're going to be in Dallas on Saturday. And then they're back home on Monday when they host the Flames, and they host the Canadiens on Thursday, March 19th. So
they got one softie. They got Calgary in there, and that's the only softie they have.
Yeah. So Shane Gaumont and Master Control, if we can bring up basically the standings with the wild card, so that we can show where they are, where all the teams are. And if not now, we'll do it between now and the end of the show. But we'll wait for Shane to actually bring it up. In the meantime, I'm going to tell you that if you can like the video tonight, that will go a long way for us. Thank you very much for doing that. Also, number 2, if there's a hype button at the bottom of the video, if you can press on the hype button, very much appreciate that. That would be pretty cool. Thank you very much. If you can press on that hype button, that would be awesome. That would go a long way. You can leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. All right, okay. And I want to talk about Insta-Customs, Montreal's highest rated print shop with a 4.9-star Google rating and over 3,000 reviews. Order today, printed today, picked or shipped today, picked up or shipped today. Custom t-shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. Fast, professional, and done right. Visit instacustoms.com or stop by our downtown Montreal location, or their downtown Montreal location. And you can do that tomorrow. Or if you want to wait for the little bit of a winter storm we're having here to go away, maybe you can drop by in a couple of days. It's Insta-Customs, and a shout out to Nick, who does amazing, amazing work. All right, Pierre. The empty net, once again, there's so many things that Marty St. Louis is going to love there. We have still a lot to talk about, Pierre. I want to bring up the event summary, the ice time. Let's bring it up. To bring up the shots on goal as well. Okay, Pierre, we have it here in front of us, and I've highlighted some things that stand out. What catches your attention the most?
The ice time for Matheson, almost 24 minutes. That's going to be, obviously he's such a fit guy, but tomorrow that's going to be a more difficult game.
Yeah.
So that's something to pay attention to tomorrow. I'm surprised Slav was -1. I thought Slav had a heck of a game. He had 4 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Cash 1, but he was tremendous tonight, I thought. Newhook was very good. Arbor, 10:59, almost 11 minutes. Yeah, I don't think they trust him, Tony.
But I mean that's higher than some of the games that he's played in the last month. I mean, there were games where he was 7, 8, 9. He's the second shy of 11 minutes, so that's not bad. I thought he was pretty good tonight. He had a shot. He had 3 attempts blocked. He had 3 hits. He pulled off a smile. He and Lane Hutson when they saw Brendan Gallagher get into that fight. So I think that was okay. Lane Hutson had an assist. He was +2. Speaking of Lane Hutson, Pierre, I know how high you are on him and have been for the longest time. You used to watch him practice and have those one-on-one battles with Macklin Celebrini in practice, and they used to show up before everyone else and get on the ice, and they used to stay longer than everyone else. And 3 years after their time at Boston University, they're both superstars in the National Hockey League, which is pretty cool. I want to bring up a stat on Lane Hutson. Do we have it? Shane Gomo on Master Control, and then we'll get back to the event summary after that. Take a look at this, Pierre. In their first 150 games in the National Hockey League, most assists by a defenseman. Pierre, 115 assists by Sergei Zubov in his first 150 NHL games was the NHL record up until a couple of days ago. Lane Hutson had tied it, and now Lane Hutson beats it, Pierre. 116 assists in his first 147 games in the National Hockey League, topping Zubov, who had topped Makar by 3. Mark Howe, 106. Stefan Persson, 109. Cale Makar, 112. Sergei Zubov, 115. Lane Hutson, 116. That's pretty good company, Pierre McGuire.
Sergei Zubov's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Mark Howe's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Stefan Persson won 4 Stanley Cups with the Islanders. Cale Makar's probably destined for the Hall of Fame. Lane Hutson wouldn't surprise me if he keeps this up. We'll be in the very same discussion. To do that in 147 games, that's fantastic. That's spectacular.
Pierre, Lane Hutson's number 48 is going to be retired one day by the Montreal Canadiens.
If they, it's pretty cool. My daughter works over in Europe, and she's over here visiting with her mother and I, and we were watching the game. She goes, "Dad, do you know what I'm really excited about?" I said, "No, what is it?" She goes, "I'm actually going to see the Montreal Canadiens win the Stanley Cup."
Wow.
That was really cool.
How long is she in for?
She's here for another 7 days.
All right. We got to get her to the games on the weekend.
No, she's going to stay right here. I got to go back to work. I'll be back in Montreal on Monday.
I hear you.
Placid, yeah.
All right. Okay. That's pretty cool. I hear you, Pierre. All right. Okay. Let's get back to that event summary if we can. Jake Evans won 10 of 13 draws for 77%. Phil Deneau won 8 of 12. Deneau was good too, Pierre. Phil Deneau had a good game tonight with a goal. He was a +2. Played, of course, 15 minutes and 12 seconds, 67% in the circle. So good game for Phil Deneau.
Just remember what I told you. Without having Scott Lawton there, without having Nicky Dubois there, the depth players for the Toronto Maple Leafs not nearly as good. So as well as you guys did, I'm really happy for them because they're important players. This is the hockey management side of me. Let's manage the expectation. That's not a murderer's row of players that Toronto dressed in their bottom 6 last night, especially through the middle of the ice.
Difficult night in the circle for Nick Suzuki, who won 6 of 19 for 32%. Alex Newhook, of course, I think we agree that he's probably a better winger than he is a centerman. And he was playing wing, but he ended up taking 8 draws and won only 2 of the 8 for 25%. Suzuki was a -1 tonight, but I still have no problem with the effort whatsoever. I think he did some good things tonight out there. Alex Newhook had an assist in the hockey game for 14 minutes and 20 seconds. Pierre, 2 games and 2 nights. It wasn't the most difficult game for the Montreal Canadiens, but they still had to exert some energy, of course, to seal the deal. There are a couple of players who haven't played in a while. One who hasn't played in a long while, and I'm talking about Joe Veleno. And Alex Texier hasn't played either. 2 games and 2 nights. Do you make any changes to your lineup tomorrow, Pierre?
I think a lot depends on what the trainer tells you. If the trainer says, Cole Caulfield was sick.
Yeah.
According to them. I don't know if he was sick or something else, but if Cole Caulfield can't go, you're going to have to adjust your lineup right there. And then you got to see what the bump, if there are any bumps and bruises. I mean, Matheson with those shot blocks, Tony, he wasn't feeling real good. So I think you're going to find out tomorrow. It's hard to predict just because of the wear and tear on the players, but I would probably say there'll be at least one new player in the lineup tomorrow.
Who do you think got the highest stat score on the hockey stat card for the Montreal Canadiens, all of their players tonight? Who do you think got the highest one?
Jake Evans.
It's a good answer, but I'll tell you that he was 5th.
Okay.
The highest stat score is courtesy of a player who's probably had the highest stat score for more than half of the Canadiens' games this year.
Lane
Hutson running away with the highest stat score. As a matter of fact, more than double Ivan Demidov. When we said that Demidov was feeling it tonight, Pierre, the stats back it up. But Lane Hutson with the highest score, his defense partner, Caden Gouhle, with the second highest score. Pierre, talk to me about that duo, because Matheson and Gouhle had a difficult West Coast trip.
Yeah.
Goalie goes back to left D. He was playing right D with Matheson. And Lane Hutson, who was playing left D with Dobson playing right, switches over and plays right D. I'm not surprised the success that Lane Hutson had, Pierre, because Lane Hutson last year had a better plus-minus playing right defense than he had playing left defense, which goes to show you the incredible talent that he is. But talk to me about the pairing of Gouhle and Hutson tonight with Hutson playing right defense, Pierre.
Well, it was really important for Caden to get back to the left side, number one. He just knows when he plays with Lane, he doesn't have to do much with the puck. He just has to defend and support and clear the crease. So that makes the game a lot easier for him. And Lane is just a maestro. You know, for a lot of defensemen, they're very good crossing over right over left. They're not as good crossing over left over right. But when Lane plays on the right side, he's got to cross over left over right to get around the net. And he's very good at doing that. You know, there are not a lot of guys that are good at doing that and accelerating. He's one of the guys that's really good at it. Another guy that's really good at it, Erik Karlsson, when he plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins. But in the league, I'm telling you, there are not a lot of guys that play on the right side that can wheel around the net, crossing over left over right and accelerating. And Lane Hutson's one of the guys that can.
Bobby says if the game would have gone to 5 overtimes, Lane Hutson would be on the ice tomorrow first thing, which is pretty cool.
He's right.
He's
right.
Probably right. If you want to get in on the action tomorrow during the game, go all the way with Betway. Get a deposit matchup bonus up to $300 on your first deposit. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in detail section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older, and please play responsibly. Okay, so once again, I just want to get to a couple of more stat lines. The Canadiens outshot Toronto 18-5 in period number 1. Toronto outshot Montreal 11-6 in period number 2. Montreal bounces back 9-2 in the third, 33-18 for the Montreal Canadiens, who won 49% of the draw to 51% for the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight. By the way, there were only 4 power play opportunities in this game. Toronto went 0 for 2. Montreal went 0 for 2 as well. Other than that, other important stat lines that we can bring you. Will Dubé tweets out Jake Evans, Pierre, in his last 5 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points, +5, 64% in the circle, playing 7 seconds shy of 16 minutes per game.
You understand why that is, right? He's chosen to accept the same role that he had last year before he signed his contract. And after he signed his contract, he lost his way. He started trying to be a point producer rather than a shutdown guy. Well, he's got that back now, and that's why those numbers are as good as they are. I'm really proud of him. He's done a really nice job. Really nice job.
I have a couple of more numbers. Jakub Dobes has won 8 games in a row at the Bell Center, Pierre. James Myrtle tweets out, for the 12th time in franchise history, the Leafs have lost 8 games in a row. The last time was their 11-game skid in 2014-2015. The Leafs are now on pace for 82 points and sit 6th last in the NHL in points percentage. They have 2 regulation wins in their last 21 games. Pierre, they have 2 regulation wins in their last 21 games. Most goals by a rookie this season. 3 rookies have 20. Beckett Seneca, 20. Matthew Schaefer, 20. Oliver Kapanen 20. I'm willing to bet that if this question would have been asked in the preseason, which Montreal Canadiens player would be the first rookie to hit 20 goals by March, I think a lot of people would have said Ivan Demidov. It's Oliver Kapanen, which is pretty cool. If you like the podcast tonight, once again, like it, hit the hot button. We're going to take some questions, Pierre. Yeah. Let's take 5 quick questions before we say goodnight and thank everyone for watching. Mm-hmm. Could the injury from the playoffs be a reason why Montembeault has struggled?
I don't think so. I really don't. He had the entire summer to rehabilitate. I think the Olympic pressure was pretty significant on him. I really do. And the fact he saw that dwindling away, I think played head games with him. I really believe that.
There was something wrong, though, right from training camp, Pierre. He had a bad training camp. So
pressure.
I don't want to.
Pressure.
Could be. I don't want to speculate on what his offseason was. And by the way, I think some of his struggles this year, I think a lot of it has to do with the pressure. The Canadiens last year, maybe a couple of people said that they were going to make the playoffs. And the only reason why they said they were going to make the playoffs is that they knew that the majority of people were saying they're not going to make the playoffs. So if they would have made the playoffs, they said, you see, I told you they were going to make it. Mind you, I said it was going to come down to the final game of the season, and the Canadiens were going to miss the playoffs by 2 points. They ended up making the playoffs on the final game of the regular season. I'd argue that if Carolina dresses their entire team instead of sitting out 8 regulars, I don't know if the Canadiens win that game.
I remember that game, Tony, because Kent oh gosh, I'm having a brain cramp here. The Broad Brindamore's son played in the game.
Correct.
Broad Brindamore's son played in the game. It's one of his first NHL games.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that, Pierre. Why don't we get to another question? Where are we going here? We're going to Soul Charms. Who comes in tomorrow if Cole Caulfield is sick? It has to be Texier.
I would say Texier as well.
It has to be Texier.
Excuse me.
No problem at all. It's Skyler, his son, right? Skyler?
Yep, Skyler, yep.
All right, okay.
He played with Jakub Quillen at Quinnipiac.
Oh, cool. Next one. Ricardo says, after watching Nyes, do you still want Hughes to pick him up? Pierre, Nick Kiprio says, based on the information he has, he believes the deal that Kent Hughes was working on, which wasn't able to materialize, was a deal for Toronto Maple Leafs Matthew Nyes. I like that player a lot, Pierre. I've always said that if the Canadiens can add a poor man Slafkovsky, that would be just what the doctor ordered for the line that Slafkovsky wouldn't be on in the top 6. I think Matthew Nyes is that guy. But he wasn't very good tonight, Pierre.
He hadn't been good all year, Tony. He had an opportunity to make the U.S. Olympic team by being on a line with Auston Matthews at the start of the season in Toronto, and there was a bitter disappointment, and he wasn't even an afterthought after the month of November for that team. So, no, Matthew Nyes had a really disappointing year. He knows it. The team knows it. He might have been floated out there. I'd be very surprised if they would have traded him with Montreal. I'll be totally frank with you, Tony. I don't believe they would have traded him to Montreal.
No way.
Nope.
Why would they want to trade him to begin with, though? He's a young player.
No, I don't think but they might have put his name out there to see what he was worth. The one thing you got to do when you're running a team and you want to do a rebuild, excuse me, is you got to make sure you understand the value of your player around the league. So if you don't put the name out there, you don't know. You just don't know.
Couple more, and then that's it. Let's go. This one here coming in from Sun Fun Travelers. Will we see Michael Hage in the final games?
I don't think so.
No?
No.
On his team.
Excuse me, because University of Michigan will still be playing.
Yeah. And if they won't, then we have a chance to see him. Let's next. Last one. Mario Biscotti. Realistically, what should fans expect for a playoff run? Is it round 1 round, 2 rounds? Could they go all the way?
I think they can go to the Eastern Conference Final. Excuse me.
You think they can, eh?
I do.
Who do they have the best chance against in round 1?
Tampa.
Really? Not Carolina?
Well, no, I think they're going to finish in the top 3.
Okay.
And I think Buffalo's going to finish first.
Okay. Well, that would mean I'd have to do a road trip to Tampa Bay.
I may have to go with you.
You know what? You're on. Thanks for doing this, Pierre. Very much appreciated. And you'll be back tomorrow. We're going to do this again.
You got it.
And if you thought we were pumped up tonight, we're going to get some pretty good sleep tonight. And so we're going to be back at it tomorrow. Even better tomorrow. Ciao for now, Pierre. We'll talk to you soon.
See you later, Tony.
All right, cheers. There you have it. Pierre McGuire. All right. Once again, special thanks, all of you, for being there in such big numbers. You're the most loyal crowd. You're a great crowd. You've been a great support system. You stimulate us. You motivate us. We don't take you for granted. We do it for the right reasons. Our heart's in a good place. We're dedicated to the Canadiens and Canadiens coverage. We watch every single minute of Montreal Canadiens games. We follow the practices. We're up to speed with the Canadiens, and the show is packed with everyone that is all about that. And so we hope that you'll be with us for a very, very long time. And on this Habs post-game show and this Habs coverage, thank you. We love you. We have exciting things coming up. And once again, tonight we debuted with the Habs Tonight pregame show, and we have other exciting things coming up. And we're going to continue to bring the energy. We're going to continue to bring the passion. We're going to continue to add to our collaborators. And everyone we will add will know the Montreal Canadiens from top to bottom, and we'll be watching every single minute of every single game, following the practices and everything. Like I said before, thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow night following the Canadiens and the Ottawa Senators in Ottawa. It's a huge 4-point game. I love you. Canadiens win 3-1. Ciao for now.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.